Okay, let's see if things work out here. All right, I hope the stream doesn't go. I'm recording just in case. Just in case things fuck up on the stream, because from what I'm seeing, things look a little bit rocky. Okay, now it's at excellent. Okay, the bitrate's wild. Everything's crazy. Okay, perfect. All right, well, how is everyone doing this wonderful, wonderful Wednesday evening? Things do look a little bit shaky on the preview. Okay, no, everything's caught up. Cool. Hi, it is me. It is I, Brother West, coming to you live from Carrying Comfort Studios here at Carrying Comfort Farms. And this evening, we are talking about The Last of Us Part 2. Also, I want to throw out a shout out to Big Dad for buying a comfort tee. Thank you for buying some merch from us. I love to see it. I love it. I love it always, and I appreciate your patronage and everything like that. Should get there to you not too long. Shouldn't take too long to get to you, and they are quite comfortable. So I appreciate it. This evening I'm rocking a t-shirt from one of my favorite streams to watch, and they have an excellent Discord, Gehenna Gaming. They had a stream earlier today as Worlds and Crafts. I wasn't really active in the chat, but I was watching. It was a great conversation. They stream almost every single day except for, I believe, oh wow, Fridays? Saturdays? I think? Who knows? I think it's every day except for Friday and Saturday. They have a schedule over on their website. You can check that out, as well as in their Discord. But also, you can check them out at www.gehennagaming.com. They have a link to their shop there where you can get a tee that's like this. It's a Sanguine in the style of a Supreme t-shirt. You can also get multiple other style of t-shirts. I have like a handful of them in my closet. They're great. You can get like different cuts. You can get tank tops, crew neck sweaters, hoodies, zip-up hoodies, all that stuff like that. So please go check them out. But we're not here to talk about that. What we're here to talk about this evening is a game called The Last of Us Part 2, developed by Sony Entertainment Studios and Naughty Dog. Was produced by Sony Entertainment and developed by Naughty Dog Studios. If you have not watched my playthrough, it is in a collection here that's on video on demand. That's going to be around for like the next 2 months. I've got every single playthrough except for the last 6 hours, which was a 6-hour stream that we did. We pushed through to the end, and that's going to be on YouTube. I'm also going to take this evening and put this stream on YouTube as well, so it'll be there for you to watch later. But this evening, I was going to take the time, if we get people that want to talk about the game, any kind of discussions, I'm just going to kind of go over things that I like, things that I loved, things that I didn't like, and just kind of discuss a little bit about the game, looking at it from a narrative standpoint, also a little bit from a gameplay, but more so from the narrative standpoint. And we're going to talk about some things. We'll talk a little bit about some of the controversies that come up around it. We'll leave that towards the end, so it's a little juicier bit, so I know people want to scream about some of the things that have been controversial around that game. It's not going to be a long stream tonight. It's only going to be about an hour to an hour and a half. Afterwards, the discussion, I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of the stream, things that are going to be happening, things that we're going to be working on, and things that are coming up, some changes that are going to be made. Because I got a little bit of good news. That means that I'm going to be making more money, which is good, which means I'm going to be able to upgrade things. Like my stream PC, I'm going to be able to finish building that, like buying the parts for it, building it. I have to actually go through the act of building it, and then setting it up here so that I'll have a dedicated stream PC, and then I'll have a PC for work, and I'm not going to be using my shitty work computer. Buying the shirt is a big deal. Yeah, it's a huge deal, because you bought something with my face on it, and bought something with my company, and so it means a lot to me. So I do appreciate you. Yeah, you're helping out. You're helping out the stream and everything. So I really do appreciate it. So getting into it, Last of Us Part 2 is a game developed by Naughty Dog. Oh yeah. Oh. I'll wear one too. I've got one in my closet. I'll wear one with my face on it. We'll match a little bit. It depends on the color. So Naughty Dog developed Last of Us Part 2. It was a game that was in development for 7 years. after the first one, which was a smash success hit that won multiple Game of the Year awards. It had a prequel comic series that was produced by Dark Horse that was written by Neil Druckmann. And the artist on it as well it's called The Last of Us American Dreams. The Last of Us American Dreams. Pulling up the artist right now. Which is Faith Erin Hicks, who does a little bit more of a minimalist style. A very, very, very excellent comic. I read the series recently over this past week because I'm a big, big fan of comic books, and I love Dark Horse. And so I decided, I was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot. And check it out. The publishers are Sony Interactive. The game directors was Neil Druckmann primarily, with some assistant director help from Anthony Newman, Kurt Martineau. The designers of the game, the lead designers, were Amelia Schatz and Richard Cambier. And then the lead programmers was Travis McIntosh, Kristen Gerling. The lead artists were Eric Pangilinan, John Sweeney, Christian Akata, and the lead writers was Neil Druckmann, with Haley Gross helping him out with some of the excess parts. The composer of the game that did the wonderful, wonderful soundtrack that you can listen to on multiple digital formats. You can also order a vinyl pressing of the record of it, which I'm thinking about grabbing to start off a record collection, because I've been really interested in stuff like that, like video game soundtracks as record collections, like checking out Mondo News and everything, because the Mondo shop has like all of the Metal Gear Solid soundtracks, and I kind of want to grab those because they're excellent. But the composer was Gustavo Santaolalla, which is Gustavo. He was the composer from the first game. He was asked to come back for the second one. He was kind of hesitant, but he decided to come back, and I'm really, really glad they did. Gustavo was actually in the game as well. In the beginning part in Jackson, you can see him sitting in a rocking chair playing a banjo, with a dog sitting next to him, and it's just a nice little Easter egg. It was great. So, Last of Us Part 2 came out this year. If you're just watching this and you're just here for the discussion, you didn't see the playthrough. It's set 5 years after the first game, where the players control two different characters. A point of contention, you control two different characters in this game. You play the 19-year-old Ellie, who is set out for revenge and who was one of the protagonists from the first game. And then Abby, who is a mercenary that was involved in a conflict between a militia and a cult, and had her relationship directly tied to Joel from the first game. It's a game that contains survivor horror elements, including finding supplies to craft things, finding ammunition, all that good stuff. And it's played from the third-person perspective. You can use firearms, improvised weapons, stealth to defend against regular enemies, as well as the cannibalistic creatures of infected called clickers. Or they're humans that have been infected by the cordyceps fungus, which is a mushroom-like fungus that grows inside your brain and kind of like takes over a creature's brain. It's based on a real life thing. You can watch the documentary on Planet Earth where they talk about it affecting ants, to where it takes over the ant's brain and uses them for their own devices to feed the fungus. It's really weird, it's really freaky, and it's really great. So the 6-year development, I said for 7 years, but 6 years of the development began in 2014, soon after The Last of Us Remastered, which was a remastered version of the game made for PlayStation 4, because the first Last of Us came out for PlayStation 3 in 2013 at the end of the PS3's life, just like this one came in at the end of the PS4's life, because we have the PlayStation 5 coming out soon. The game was announced in December 2016. It was delayed twice, first for further development, and then due to logistical problems arising from the COVID-19 panic. They probably should have just delayed it originally, even without all that stuff, so they could have given their team plenty of time to work on it. We'll get into that later, though. It was released on June 19th, 2020. It was given critical acclaim on Metacritic. It is currently holding a 96-97 score, with a audience score of 5.1. We'll talk a little bit about that later as well. Praise was directed towards the improved gameplay mechanics, which they have improved immensely. I'm so happy about that. The story, the visual fidelity, it is a gorgeous game. It is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen in my life, with so much detail. It is ridiculous. ridiculous, and the performances of its cast, though some aspects of the narrative and presentation of its themes were criticized. Part 2 became one of the PlayStation 4's best-selling games, and also the fastest-selling platform-exclusive game in all history, with more than 4 million units sold in its opening weekend. 4 million units in its release weekend. They have made their budget of the game already in its opening weekend. So, let's talk about it. The story, to go over in all of it, you play as Ellie about 4 years later, and you are in Jackson, Wyoming, which is the city that Tommy, Joel's brother from the previous game, had lived in with his wife Maria. You and Joel had made your life there. Ellie and Joel had made their life there, growing and becoming better people. They had stopped living their life on the run. Most of the civilization outside of Jackson has been destroyed by the mutant cordyceps fungus, which transforms its human host into aggressive creatures known as infected. 5 years ago in the previous game, Joel Miller escorted Ellie to a hospital that was run by the Fireflies. That was a rebel militia in hopes of developing a cure. Learning the Fireflies would kill Ellie to create a vaccine because of how the fungus had warped her brain so much. Joel killed the Fireflies in the hospital and escaped with Ellie, later lying to her that the cure was impossible. The game opens with Joel confessing his guilt to his brother Tommy in a very, very deep and impactful opening scene. It's great. It's awesome. It's amazing. It really I had goosebumps as soon as I heard it. Later you have an interaction between Joel, and a lot of this game is played with the current narrative that's running in a 3-day, in a 4-day kind of narrative that's intercut with different flashbacks taken from both the characters' perspectives. This one, we kind of see after Joel comes back to town, we see in his confession with Tommy, we see a flashback of him giving a guitar to Ellie that has a moth stamped on it. The moth is very important. We'll talk about it later. And in that, we have a great conversation opening up. Joel plays Future Days by Pearl Jam, which is an excellent song, and they don't. I'm not a big fan of a lot of Pearl Jam's later albums, but the album that it's on, Lightning Bolt, is a pretty good album. I think it's one of their last good albums, in my opinion. But it's very emotional. They have a good talk. Then the game opens up completely with you starting as Ellie, waking up the day after what we saw in the E3 trailer, which was her kissing Dina. In front of all the people in Jackson, and her feeling a little bit hungover. We learned that there was a scuffle between this guy named Seth, who's a bartender in town, and her, and apparently Joel got involved, which pissed off Ellie. And we're introduced to Jesse, a friend of Ellie's, and apparently the ex-boyfriend of Dina's, and they're about to go out on patrol with each other. They get ready. They go through the ins and outs of the community of Jackson, how things run, and it goes into them heading out, going on patrol, and with Dina. This is where the game kind of sets up a little bit of a tutorial for you, getting you used to the crafting mechanics, as well as the gunplay and the combat, as well as the traversal system. Intercut at the same time, we get to meet Abby, who leads members of the Washington Liberation Front militia to the outskirts of Jackson, seeking revenge against Joel and we later find out during a very pitiful scene for revenge against Joel for murdering her father, who we later find out is who was the lead surgeon that Joel murdered to save Ellie. Abby gets separated from her group because she tries to they're kind of hesitant about going into everything, and she's very, very driven by her revenge and her pain, and so she goes off on her own, and she ends up getting chased by infected, which she gets rescued by Joel and Tommy. She takes them back to the WLF group because they're the closest kind of shelter from the infected and a snowstorm that's happening, and meanwhile Ellie and Dina are leave Jackson to go in search of Tommy and Joel because they have not checked in. Ellie enters their camp later, as like they're kind of like her and Dina split up, they get to the Overlook like resort where there was like where they were this like it was like a ski lodge that was overlooked the town of Jackson, and she witnesses Abby beat Joel to death with a golf club and swears revenge against her. The rest of the group grabs Tommy and Ellie, knocks them out, and they leave them alive, saying that they came here just to take care of Joel. Just to kind of speed up things a little bit more, this leads to multiple emotional scenes of Ellie dealing with her guilt. Hey, thank you. I got it from you guys. Ellie goes through multiple, like, we see her kind of processing the guilt over the things that she's dealing with, how her last interactions with Joel have been, how his death has affected her, and how his death has affected her brother Tommy, and she swears revenge against Abby and says that she's going to do whatever she can to kill Abby to get revenge for Joel. Which ends up leading her to Seattle, also chasing after Tommy, who left without telling anybody, to also seek revenge, trying to keep Ellie out of it. So Dina goes along with Ellie, completely supporting her the full way. This is important to take in mind. Completely supporting her the whole way, and they go across a journey from Wyoming to Seattle, Washington, to track down Abby and the rest of the WLF group. While in Seattle, over a 3-day period, we see Ellie and Dina, while also their relationship growing in strength, learning a little bit more about what has happened in the 4-year time frame between the first game and the second game, seeing Ellie track down different members of this WLF group, trying to figure out where Abby is, and either killing them, seeing them be killed, or stumbling upon their dead bodies because fate has deemed that they are not worthy to travel this world any longer. Over that, we're introduced to multiple different enemy types, including the WLF soldiers, the dogs that they use, because they apparently, so they call themselves wolves, and they apparently use patrol dogs as well. Different kinds of infected, including the runners, the clickers, swarmers, bloaters, and stumblers, or something like that. It's very, like, they're all disgusting. And also get introduced to another group, a cult that lives in Seattle and lives on an island that houses the Space Needle off the coast of mainland Seattle, called the Seraphites. They're a cult that follows a woman who we know her as the Martyr. We never get her full name. I'm assuming it's Sarah, because they're called the Seraphites. But we learn that she has recently been martyred, and that she is that they have started to worship her and her image, and they are starting to try to take out the WLF from murdering her in a truck bombing. You witness a lot of clashes between the two. They have different styles of fighting. The Seraphites use like bows and arrows, sometimes use guns. But also, Seraphites are a little bit like the Amish, where they shirk electronics and other like man-made industrial things to live a more simple life. They believe that's very important. 1 second. All right. Perfect. At the end of a 3-day period, after multiple bloodshed and killing, Ellie killing Owen and Mel, close friends of Abby, well, Owen is a close friend, former boyfriend, and Mel is his pregnant girlfriend, returns back to the theater where they were using as their home base with Tommy. Jesse, who had apparently tracked down and went after Ellie and Dina, worried about them, and also Tommy. And they decide to go home, saying that enough things have happened, they've gotten injured enough, it's just time to let it go. Until that point where Abby shows up at the theater, kills Jesse by shooting him in the head, and holds Tommy at gunpoint, and tells Ellie the lines, "We saved both of your lives and you wasted it." At this point, one of the most critically hated, I guess, points of the game, which I loved, the perspective switches from Ellie, who you've been playing through over half this game, over halfway, I would say about 60% of this game you play as Ellie. you switch to a flashback of Abby with her and her father the day that Joel and Ellie come to St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City. That you learn the background that that it's a me, a baby face, a pretty boy. How's it going, a little Gert don't hurt? Good to see you. Long time no see. So you get to a point where you learn that Abby's father was the head surgeon that was supposed to develop the cure for the infected, for the cordyceps fungus and the virus. Joel puts a stop to that, and you learn that Abby overheard Joel's name, and ever since that day, she has been hunting for any kind of news of Joel. So the story starts back over, and you start with them the day after they got back from Jackson and killing Joel. That's where you get to meet Manny and Nora and Owen and Mel, and you get to learn a little bit more about the group of friends that she developed and traveled with on their way to kill Joel. With that, you learn a little bit more backstory about what has happened in Seattle, about the struggle between the Wolves and the Seraphites, and what that struggle is doing to them. Yeah, I am on a weird streaming schedule, which that might change here, which we're going to talk about at the end of the stream, about things that are changing with the stream a little bit more. I'm always about adapting and changing, growing, but I'm glad you could be here, just talking about some Last of Us. So if there's anything you want to talk about, just drop it in the chat. Just drop it in the chat. If you've played it, of course. This is going to be spoiler-filled. But so we learn more about the Wolves and the Seraphites and their kind of internal struggle, things that have been going on between them. You learn about Isaac, the leader of the Wolves, which we've only learned a little bit so far in the game from people. Oh, you watched. Oh, there we go. There we go. You got everything you need to know. But we learn more about Isaac, who is the head of the WLF, and about how he is a no-nonsense. He tortures Seraphites for information. He wants to be rid of them off of Seattle. He wants to have full, total control of Seattle. He worked with James and Julie Morrison, I believe, who started the WLF to fight against Fedra, who had kept their boot heel on the back of Seattle during this whole time. And as you're going through over the next 3 days, you find out that Owen has been reported to kill one of their friends, Danny, while they're on patrol, and that the WLF were trying to find him and bring him in. So that leads to Abby. I'm going to keep on switching their names. I apologize. Abby going to hunt down and find Owen and try to figure out what happened and try to save him. This all goes to a head once she finally gets to she's making her way towards the aquarium, which is where Owen is held up. It's just where he died with Mel alongside through the perspective of Ellie. But along the way, Abby is knocked out and taken prisoner by the Seraphites, in which by taken prisoner by the Seraphites, they do not take prisoners unless you renounce that your lifestyle is a wolf. So what they do is they tie you up by your neck, they put you on a bucket, and then they apparently cut your intestines out. Content warning, by the way, content warning. Yeah, Abby, eventual good guy. Ellie, eventual monster. Yes. They cut your intestines out and let you watch there, and then they kick the bucket out from under you while you hang. You've seen that this whole entire game, and now Abby's going through it. This is the same scene that was shown as a trailer during the Paris Games Week. Paris Games Week trailer, and you were introduced to two very, very the heart and soul of the game, Lev and Yara. Lev, a transgendered man, and Yara, Lev's brother, Lev's sister, who are both on the run from the Seraphites. The Seraphites were apparently not happy with the fact that Lev has embraced his identity of being a man, and for shaving his head, which is something that is reserved only for the men. Apparently, we learned that in the Seraphites, the women wear their head in like a braid kind of thing, and the men shave their heads, and Lev, in an act of defiance against the rules that have been placed by them, has shaven his head and adopted that identity. We'll talk a little bit about more of that and the thoughts and the feelings that are evoked from that later. So, Abby ends up being saved by them, and then Abby in turn goes back to save them because Yara's arm was broken multiple times. It was shattered by one of the other Seraphites in the turn of saving. Oh, whoa, that. Oh, Bama Jam. Thank you for the follow. That jumped me. That made me jump. I had my headphones on like really high. Thank you for the follow. I don't have any music or games going on, so like it was just like sudden, just like So Abby, feeling guilty after getting back to the aquarium with Owen and spending a night with Owen, decides to go and save Yara and Lev. Goes back, finds them, collects them, brings them back to the aquarium, and we learn that Yara has a compact syndrome, which means that all the bones have broken in her forearm, and the fact that they are all broken and shattered, they are constricting the blood vessels, not allowing them to flow and bleed, so the arm is dying. So it has to be amputated. Them not having the supplies, Abby goes to the hospital with Lev to get the supplies needed for that. During that time, she is captured by the WLF because the message has been taken down the grapevine that she has gone AWOL. And Nora, her friend, lets her out and then lets her go into the lower levels where all the gear that she needs is found. There we have one of the best combat moments in the game against the Rat King, which is such a perfect name. The Rat King is... So we find out that this hospital in Seattle is the ground zero for where the infection was, and that in the lower levels, in the ER and the trauma center, they have not been touched since the infection started. In that time, this Rat King... this Rat King has... like formed like a bunch of different infected bodies into this giant blubbering mass and has this swarmer attachment to it. You go through this fight where you're like running around the whole trauma center trying to kill it. They get split in half, and so you have to like fight both of them. And it is the best part of the game. I think it's the best part of my playthrough. I had so much fun with it. Which you get the supplies, you meet back up with Lev, and you learn a little bit more about Lev, and you learn a little bit about Lev and Yara's story in the meantime. Get back to the aquarium, the amputation goes well, and we learn that Mel does not want Abby around, and Owen wants to take this boat that he has repurposed and go to Santa Barbara, California, because he has learned that fireflies are in Santa Barbara, and he wants to reconnect with them. So... at this point, we're kind of seeing a nexus, a crossover. They need to get a boat to so Lev, Yara come back, everything like that. They are like kind of talking and going over plans for going to Santa Barbara, and Lev leaves because Lev hears about the wolves, the WLF's plans to attack the islands that the Seraphites are on, and goes and on his own to go and warn their mother and to save their mother. So Yara and Abby go to the aquarium to try and steal a boat to get to the island to save Lev. There, Abby meets up with Manny, which, as we found out earlier, there was a sniper at the port trying to like take out some of the wolves while they were going to get their boats, and Manny is there to try to take him down. We find out it's Tommy, and in this really gripping scene, you have to make your way from one end of a street all the way up to where Tommy is trying to snipe you, while he's also hitting cars with his bullets, trying to like make enough noise to get the infected to fuck with us. There, Manny's killed, and we come to contact with Tommy. Tommy comes face to face with Abby, and Abby pushes him into the ocean during the upcoming storm. When she gets back to the aquarium with Yara, with the boat, and I think I got things a little bit out of order. There's a lot of stuff happening with boats and everything like that. Trying to get a boat to go. But we find out that Ellie has... Oh, okay, no. Okay, so then they get the boat and they go to the island to save Lev. There, they come into contact with Lev, get a hold of Lev, and they try to escape the island from the Seraphites at the same time as the WLF are attacking. During this time, Yara is shot by WLF, and Lev and Abby are held up at gunpoint by Isaac and some of the other WLF. Isaac wants to kill Lev, and Abby stands up for Lev. Lev is confused by this, but because of the whole distance between their two groups, and Isaac not wanting to kill Abby, because I think he has like a fondness for Abby, because she is one of his most efficient killers. It's noted that she has killed the most Seraphites out of anybody in the WLF. But Isaac is shot in the head by Yara, who has not completely died yet, and we see that she is finally killed by the rest of the WLF. And during the main skirmish where the WLF and the Seraphites are fighting at Haven, the Seraphites, and you're fighting in between. There's a couple of encounters that you get to where they're fighting over each other, and you can kind of decide who wins which battle by deciding who to attack, or you can just sneak through and just kind of ignore them. But you and Lev finally get on a boat, get off the island, and get back to the aquarium, where Abby finds that Ellie has been there and has killed Owen and Mel. Filled with rage, she makes her way to the theater, which is marked on the map that Ellie left at the aquarium. Goes, and then that's where the two paths finally converge. And we see it come down to a point where Abby and Ellie are meeting each other at gunpoint. Things come to a head where Abby chases after Ellie backstage, and as Abby, you're trying to hunt down and beat the shit out of Ellie. It gets to a point where Abby is about to kill Ellie, then Dina comes up behind Abby, tries to stab her, but then Abby is about to slit Dina's throat. Ellie screams that she's pregnant and that don't kill her, she's pregnant. And Abby's about to do it anyways. She says good. She's over it. She's fed up. She's angry. She wants revenge because of the death of her friends. And Lev tells her to stop. At this point, Abby says that if she ever sees Ellie again, she'll fucking kill her. I did. I didn't get a new camera. I have a different camera for streaming from my PS4 because you can only use a PlayStation camera, and I have this camera for when I'm streaming from the computer. I also have better lighting, so that helps a ton too. I've got better lighting now, but I appreciate it. Yeah, I also have the Logitech capture on here to make sure that there's no autofocus or anything like that. I highly recommend it. It makes this C920 look way better. Bring out all that pretty. Exactly. So, fast forward a year later, Ellie and Dina are living together in a farmhouse in Montana, away from Jackson, together with the baby that was born from Dina, who's the mother of, that it was her and Jesse's baby, JJ, and they're living a simple life, a farm life. But Ellie is still racked by PTSD and anxiety and guilt over the death of Joel. I will talk to you later because I'm building a PC and I need to know what kind of RTX card I need to play Cyberpunk, and I want to get that on PC and stream it instead of playing it through the PS4. Overeating all the pissy shitties. There you go. That's a callback to the playthrough. Pissy shitties. Buy one generation back. There we go. But Tommy shows up at the farmhouse that they're staying at and says that he has found where Abby is at, and he wants Ellie to go and finish what she promised, which was to kill Abby. Abby doesn't want to do, or Ellie doesn't want to do it. Dina doesn't want her to do it. Says that we're done with that. We're over it. We're over revenge. It has done nothing but brought pain and hurt to us, and we want to move past it. Tommy gets mad at them both and says that they're breaking a promise, and we see at this point that Tommy, after being shot in the head but surviving, has lost sight in his right eye. He has a limp in his leg as well. He's lost everything. He has lost Maria, his wife, who has left him, because he's changed. He's been so consumed with revenge and hate and anger, it has changed who he was. At the start of the game, he was this calm, gentle, and jovial man, and these actions have driven him to anger and hate. Um, so that night, Ellie has another nightmare about losing Joel, and like has like a post-traumatic stress induced anxiety attack in the barn related with a shovel and trying to hunt down the sheep. And that night she feels guilty, so she leaves early in the morning. Dina catches her heading for Santa Barbara, and Dina says, if you leave, there'll be nothing left for you here. She leaves anyway because she needs closure. She goes all the way to Santa Barbara, gets into a bunch of scrapes, and we learn that Abby and Lev have made their way to Santa Barbara hunting down the fireflies. They get in contact with the fireflies that are on Catalina Island, apparently, and there's over 200 strong of them, so the fireflies are alive and well, living in the United States. And as they leave, they get captured by rattlers, who are a slaver group that lives in California and that have holed up in a resort on the coast of Santa Barbara. Ellie finds that out, tracks them down by running into some rattlers and holding them hostage and like threatening to kill them unless they tell her where Abby is. Learning that, she makes her way to their headquarters, murders all of them quite easily, and finds Abby held up on the pillars, which is this place where they take all of their unruly slaves that they have taken in and keep them and let them leave out in the sun and the weather and everything like that. There you let her and Lev go, and you make your way to 2 boats. At that point, you get to the climactic showdown because Ellie's like, no, I can't let you leave. I'll kill Lev unless you fight me right now. You get in the last fight of the game, which ends up in Abby getting stabbed multiple times and Ellie losing 2 fingers on her left hand, ruining her ability to play guitar. And at the end of it, realizing it's futile, having a flashback of the final moment that she had with Joel, which reminded her of that even though Joel broke her heart and hurt her, she's still willing to try and forgive him the night before he passed away. And then she realizes that she doesn't need to hold on to the revenge and hate and harm in her heart, and lets Abby go with Lev. The game ends with her going back to the farmhouse where she lived with Dina, and going in and finding all of her stuff packed into one room, and Dina and JJ have moved back to, assumedly, Jackson to be with Jesse's parents. It ends with her trying to play Future Days, the song that Joel played in the beginning of the game, and not being able to because of missing 2 fingers, and her putting on her backpack, leaving her stuff in the room, and going into the woods, leaving an open-ended story. And that is the full breakdown of the story. So, getting to my thoughts about it. I thought I should go into a full breakdown of the story, just kind of catch up everybody about different things. I want to go into my thoughts about it. Things that I liked about it. I like the nature of the story. I think it was a natural progression from the original game. I think that the original game had a point where like you're playing as Joel, and it was a smart idea because like Joel has settled in his life. It was a smart choice to move that perspective to Ellie. Also to make a change, to have a female perspective. I think that was... Sorry, I worked today. So I think that was a very smart choice for them, and I completely, wholly agree with that. At first, I was kind of unsettled with the amount of violence, because it is a very violent game. The first game was very violent. A lot of people forget with like the controversy of the game when they're complaining about how violent this game is. They forget how violent the first game is. The first game is very graphic. There's a lot of graphic detail that is given. This game is more so graphic, but it is not much more graphic than the first game. We see a character in the first game commit suicide, and there's a lot of other things that are like very, very like traumatic that happen. Now, there's a lot of people saying that this story is not necessary, that we don't need traumatic art or traumatic video games, to be more specific, and I disagree. I wholly disagree. I think that there is a place for happy-go-lucky, jovial games like Super Mario Odyssey and Animal Crossing and everything like that, and I think there's a place for games that tell a story that is very dark and it moves you. This game is by no means fun to play. Yeah, exactly. Red Dead Redemption 2 is very graphic. You skin animals in that game. You see a lot people's heads get blown off. Like games are graphic nowadays. Like Doom is graphic. Like it doesn't make sense that people are getting up in arms about how this game is so graphic. And there's people getting up in arms about a lot of different things, and we're going to talk about each of them. And I think it's smart to go and talk about those things as I'm talking about the things that I like and the things that I don't like. The thing that I like, the death of Joel, I think that worked well. I think that works well for the narrative. Man babies are pissed off because you killed their PlayStation dad. If Nathan Drake is the PlayStation uncle, then Joel was the PlayStation dad. And people are pissed off. Well, also Kratos. Well, you got Kratos to be your PlayStation dad, so you don't need to worry about Joel being your PlayStation dad. It makes sense for the story, and it makes sense who killed Joel. It's somebody directly tied to him. People forget and they hold up this ideal of Joel because when you meet Joel in the first game, you meet him 20 years after he has lost his daughter. And he says it multiple times in the first game. He is a bad person. He has done bad things. He has hurt people. And he is willing to hurt people. And he was willing to hurt people to do things that he thought was right and to help himself. He killed a whole group of people. He doomed an entire civilization to death. Father figures get killed in every game. Exactly. It is a trope. It is a thing. It happens. Just because it's a trope doesn't mean that we should, stay away from it. No. Fucking kill your father figures. I think my friend Klein has said something very, 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 very apropos to all these things and to my own feelings with father figures, where it's, you need to go and find your own father figure and you need to fight them. You need to fight them and you need to beat them in a fight and then you need to take their dad hat or whatever it is. That is a Klein quote there. Disney kills all the parentals. What it is people, there are people that are mad. There's a small group, a very small vocal minority that are mad about certain things. They are mad by the fact that there is LGBTQIA plus representation in this game. The two lead characters are, the main lead character, Ellie, is a lesbian woman. There is a trans man as one of the characters in it. Also, the fact that Abby, the other protagonist, is very muscular. I'm not going to go over this whole discussion about how it's not possible for somebody to be muscular in the apocalypse. If they played the game, they would see, in fact, that there is a full-service gym that rivals Planet Fitness at the headquarters of the WLF that is for use of all of the WLF. They have plenty of supplies. It is the largest group in Seattle that has collected supplies, so they have plenty of protein for her to take in to eat. Wolfenstein kills his own father. Exactly. Kill your dads. That can be taken out of context, but you get the point. You get the point. But so multiple things. Guess what? If you have a trans character in your game, get the fuck over it. They exist in real life. Trans people exist in real life. It is a fact of life. They deserve human rights and they deserve representation. Now, getting into that discussion. I was kind of shocked and I was kind of hurt by the fact that we witnessed Lev get dead named and get misgendered in this game. It was effective, and I understand why they did it. Neil Druckmann even said in an interview that they had a sensitivity counselor come in and see if that was okay because they were worried about it and they were worried that that would come off as insensitive, and they got cleared from key members of the trans community that was going to be okay if it had served a purpose for the character's narrative development. Also, the actor that plays Lev, Ian Alexander, you can see Ian Alexander in the OA. Ian Alexander is a trans man who is portraying a trans man in the game. Ian Alexander signed off and said that he was okay with it. If the actor is okay with it, they went through every point and said that it was okay for them. They went through all the avenues and said it was okay for them. That being said, do I believe that there should be more representation in every medium across all the boards where the story that is being told of a trans character is not a place of trauma? I wholly believe that. I want there to be more stories out there where we just see characters in these movies and television and video games where the basic fact that they are trans or non-binary or lesbian or polyamorous or anything like that, it is not a major narrative plot device. It is just something where they exist. There are so many of my favorite games, so many games that I'm able to look at, and also like television and comic books and everything like that, where I'm able to look at a hero that is a white dude, and I can see myself within him. That's Spider-Man. Uncharted is one of my favorite game series, and that Uncharted is like, you have Nathan Drake. Like, I have plenty of representation, and it is nothing like short of ludicrous that it has taken this long that we are able to have people of color, black people, transgendered people, people that are gay, lesbian, people that are furries. I don't give a shit if it's different from people's lifestyle. I'm a pansexual man. I am a white man. I'm a cis white man, and I have a lot of privilege based off of that. But I'm a pansexual man. It doesn't bother me, and it shouldn't bother these other people. Just because it's not your lifestyle doesn't mean that it shouldn't be represented. And if you say anything against it, or if you say anything about it, then guess what? You're a fucking bigot, and that is the bottom line of that. Exactly. And that's the thing. And there's a lot of mediums out there, and there's a lot of production companies that are forcing it into your face, and that is not representation. That is tokenism. That is a very good point. A little hurt don't hurt. The thing, it's not forced on you. It's not shoved down your throat. The character just so happens to be a trans character. The character just so happens to be lesbian. The character just so happens to be black. That is true equal representation. Now, does that mean that the stories about their suffering and their upbringing and stuff should be erased completely? No, because it's important to remember those things, but they should be handled with care, and those stories should be told from a perspective of somebody that has lived that. And I think that Naughty Dog, even though it was a white cis man, straight man, that, and I don't know if he's married and he has a kid, he could be bisexual, I don't know. But Neil Druckmann, he went through the proper avenues to tell that story. So, where have we gotten? Kill Joel. That's fine. Kill Joel. Kill Joel again. You know what? To quote the game, if the Lord gave me another chance to do it, and also to quote Neil Druckmann, because he quoted the game too in the kind of funny spoiler cast for this, where Greg Miller interviewed Ashley Johnson, Troy Baker, and Neil Druckmann. Neil said, if the Lord gave me another chance to do it again, he would do it again. I say do it again. Yeah, Joel should die. Yeah, exactly. It's the natural progression. I'm glad they did it in this one, though, because we got to see it in all of its full PS4 graphical glory. I can't wait to play it on the PlayStation 5. That's going to be fucking dope. Like, it would have been the perfect ending. You would have had a full character's journey, the whole character's arc of the dashing rogue, to where he has his happy ending, he has his beginning, he hits his lows, and then he has a steady climax, and then he sacrifices himself for what he thinks is the greater good. It would have been a perfect ending. I actually agree with you on that. Other things that I liked. The game is gorgeous. The game is fucking beautiful. Everything is rendered beautiful. I saw an image of somebody taking a picture of Ellie underneath the water, and you see her cheeks expanding because she's holding her breath underneath the water, and the bubbles that are coming out of her mouth, you can see the reflections of her face in those bubbles. The game is so very fucking detailed. The rope mechanics in it. I have never seen a game where a video game character takes off an article of clothing and it looks like the most realistic thing ever. The sex scene that has like been made fun of on 4chan, fuck 4chan, that has been made fun of on 4chan, is one of the most accurate depictions of a sex scene I've ever seen in a video game. The characters, the writing, it feels real. The characters and the dialogue feels lived in. The actors that have portrayed it, including Ashley Birch, who played Mel, Patrick Fugit, who played Owen, Laura Bailey, Laura Bailey kills it as Abby, Ashley Johnson, who kills it as Ellie, Troy Baker, who I do have qualms with Troy Baker as a person, but that is okay. He killed it as fucking Joel. Like, ray tracing, yes. The reflections on it, I can't wait to see this game. I can't wait to see somebody take this game and up the ante with it. Like, I can't wait to see games, like, all these games, like, up the ante with it. It's gonna be fucking crazy. People are like, well, games shouldn't look like movies. Games should look like video games. Fuck you. Games should look like whatever the creators make them look like. That being said, guess what? Game development companies, I'm a small guy. I only have 77 followers on Twitch. Guess what? Pay your fucking workers more. Pay your fucking workers more and stop pushing crunch time on them. It's not healthy. It hurts them more so, and it's not a good thing. Now, the rumors that they said that they forced people to watch, like, violent videos to see how death actually looks and stuff like that, that was a rumor. Somebody spread that to be mad about it. That's not true. The people that did that volunteered their time and volunteered to do that. Now, but if you have employees that you are paying for and you were saying you were taking care of, actually take care of them. You delayed the game twice, Naughty Dog. There is no reason why you should feel pressure when you have that much money and you've been that successful for Sony. You should be able to have the balls to look at Sony and be like, you want this game out by this time? Well, we need this long. And we need this long, and we need to take into account the mental health and the physical health of the people that work under you. At the office that I work at, for the business that I work at, if they ever told me that I get paid a salary for 40 hours a week, but I'm expected to work 60 to 75 hours a week, I would tell them to go fuck themselves and pay me for that amount of work. If you're expecting that amount of work, tell me up front and fuck you, pay me. But some people don't have the option of that, especially in the video game development areas. And I hate that that's a thing, and it's something that needs to be done better. I can't do anything about it because I'm not in it. It is up to game developers everywhere to take a step up and say that we are not compromising the health of our workers. That being said, the game looks fucking amazing, and every single person that works on that game deserves an award, and every single person that worked on that game deserves the recognition that they've earned. That game deserves so much, like congratulations and celebrations, because it's an amazing game. Yes, that's another thing we're going to talk about. Death threats. If somebody portrays a character that you don't like, or if somebody is in something that you enjoy that has pissed you off, whether it be a television show, a movie, a video game, a book, a musical artist, a podcast, a fucking recipe book, a YouTuber. If something happens, or like an actor or something like that, then guess what? Don't send them death threats. If you don't like it, voice your concern and voice your dislike of it. That is perfectly within your rights to have an opinion and to criticize something. You should always be criticizing things around you. If you just accept things as they are and you don't critique them or criticize them, then nothing changes, and that is perfectly healthy. Civil discourse is healthy. What is not healthy is sending death threats to a woman who portrayed a character and portrayed the character as best as she saw fit and that she was able to do, and you don't threaten her 2-year-old son and her husband to kill them because she betrayed a muscular woman. That is, you were a baby, you were fucking ashamed of yourself, and it is why the internet is a fucking poisonous cesspool. I love the internet. The internet has done so much to progress human civilization, and we have been able to learn so much, and we've been able to grow. I am able to do this on a bi-weekly basis because of fucking the internet. But dear fucking God, like, it is so poisonous, the amount of shit that we have to deal with. I am in Discord servers where people are thrown out, and this is not Gehenna Gaming. Gehenna Gaming is a safer space, and we handle things with that, and with a perfect look and a perfect fucking glove, I think, and I like to think that we do. But there are other Discord servers out there where people are banned by the droves because they have fucking toxic fucking thoughts, and it's the amount of intolerance is fucking dumb. Yeah, so, Laura Bailey, who portrayed Abby, got death threats. People threatened, you can go on her Twitter and where she shared them. You can go on Neil Druckmann's Twitter where he shared them too. She got death threats. People threatened to kill her. People threatened to kill her son. People threatened to kill Neil Druckmann. And people made anti-Semitic remarks against him because he's a Hebrew American man. Like, the amount of hate that has come from, like, private messages, not even in, like, the forums where you expect it on 4chan, from private messages that sent to the creators themselves, threatening to kill them, threatening to do awful things to them, is just fucking astounding. I noticed a ton of people who are sending death threats they were sending threats were the Raylo stands who threatened Adam Driver's wife because he wasn't with Daisy Ridley. Fandom is awful. Fandom is toxic. I hate fandom. I hate Star Wars fandom. I hate Star Trek fandom. I hate Doctor Who fandom. I hate all of them. I hate fandom. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate the Game of Thrones fandom. You know what? The last season of Game of Thrones was shit, but you know what? People don't deserve hate and ire for making things unless the things that they make are targeting a group through bigotry or hate. If the main thing that's being made is targeted through bigotry and hate, then please rip them to shreds. Don't send them death threats or anything like that, but call them out for being a piece of shit. Call them out and say that they have no place in your community and your standings. But if they are just creators that are making art, that are just going out there and putting themselves and their own psyche and mentality and physical health and emotional health on the line to create something that they really care about, you don't have the right to threaten to kill them over it. That makes you a shitty person. That makes you an intolerant person. That makes you a bigot. That makes you a piece of shit. And you have no place in my community that I'm trying to build. You have no place in any community that I'm a part of. I will call it out every time. And if the community that I'm a part of thinks that it's okay, then I will take myself out of that community and I will let them know exactly how I feel as I walk out the fucking door. Back to the game. The gameplay feels really tight and it feels really good. The firing of weapons feels good. Everything feels good. There's an excellent weight to the game. There are some things that I would change about it. The AI seems a little bit too omniscient. It seems like the AI, I was playing it on moderate, and even then it seemed like the AI knew everything that was going on. There are times that the AI seemed way too dumb, so I think there could have been some tweaks done with that after QA that would have been a little bit better. But for all intents and purposes, for the game, for what it was, I think it was an excellent gameplay-wise. It was an excellent game. The plot structure. I've seen people mad about the plot structure, saying that it's confusing. I think it was brilliant how they did it. At first, when I was playing it, and I hit the switch between playing Ellie to Abby, I was like, man, they probably should have just played it like Seattle Day 1 you play as Ellie, Seattle Day 1 you play as Abby, and then alternating back and forth. But then I started thinking about it, and I was talking with my friend Jordan, and I realized that actually... if that would have been the case, it would have been a messier game, and also the tonal impact would have not been as impactful if that would have been the switch, as opposed to keeping it how it is. I think the game really benefits from that by and I will say I am very, very lucky, and I'm very, very thankful, and I did the work myself to make sure that none of this game is spoiled for me. Every reaction that you see on screen when I played through the game was completely 100% spoiled free. I didn't see the leaks. I didn't go, I muted certain words on Twitter until I still have some of them muted right now just because I don't want to look at toxic fandom right now. But there was a lot of things that I wanted to that I wanted to keep from seeing. So when seeing Joel die, I didn't know that Joel died at all. I had a hint. I had a feeling that that's what everybody was mad about, but I didn't know, and I didn't know when that was going to happen. The shift from playing Ellie to Abby, I didn't know that was going to happen. I heard that the game was 30 hours, and when... Oh, John, yeah, I remember you, John. Of course I do, yeah. Yeah, how the fuck is it going, John? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Thank you. Joel in 1. Joel in 1. Exactly. I'm going to have to get some more water in a little bit if we keep going for too much longer. We won't go for too much longer. It's going to be a short stream tonight. But I think the pacing of the game works. There is some stuff you could cut out of it. The game is set up very much how you would think a Naughty Dog game is, where it's story, 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 exploration, exploration, combat encounter, exploration, combat encounter, and there's some areas where it's back-to-back combat encounters, but the formula is you can pretty much translate it and see how things are going to go. There's a lot of things that are shocking. The amount of character deaths was fucking ridiculous. And it was shocking. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about. The game reminds me of the movie Children of Men. How the color tones that are picked There is a scene in Hillcrest where you're driving with Jesse in a truck, and the way that the camera pans, it is exactly like the camera panning in the scene from Children of Men, the one take where they're in the car and people are attacking the Land Rover, and I think it's like the beginning of Children of Men. The boat imagery was similar. I got feeling as soon as I turned on the game, I got feelings that invoked Children of Men. And I think that was purposeful, and I think that was a good thing to base it off of. Every time a character dies, it has weight to it. Every time even minor characters die, it has weight to it, and it makes you sit and think about taking a human life every time and how fast it can happen. Just like that. Just like that. There's no like big build up to a lot of the deaths. It's just they fucking happen. The only big build up is Joel's death. And it is a gradual, tense, anxiety-filled, and then release. And you're sitting there with your emotions, and there's enough time to sit with it. The pacing is good. All of that effects is good. The game is masterful, and I'm not hesitating to say the game is a masterpiece. It might not be a masterpiece to everybody, but to me it was a masterpiece. And to a lot of people, it's a masterpiece. I think the game is a mighty success, and I'm so happy for Naughty Dog that it is. And I'm so happy for Naughty Dog that they're getting called out on bullshit that's not good about them so that they can make changes to it, because I like Naughty Dog, and I want to be able to continue to supporting Naughty Dog. Talk a little bit more about the game here. Some things I didn't like. It did seem a little long. There's some places that could have been cut down. That's fine. I liked how it ended. People have bitched and complained that it's a revenge plot game where you don't get revenge at the end, and I disagree with that. I don't think it is a game about revenge, but it is more about what Silent Infinity posted while we were playing the game, the perpetual cycle of violence. How no matter what you do, if somebody hurts you, then you hurt them in kind. It's just an ever-continuing circle, and you have to be the one to break that circle. Yeah, like everyone, I agree. Everyone has as much right to like a game as much as they don't like a game. If one of you said in the fucking chat right now that you didn't like the game, you didn't think it was a masterpiece, guess what? You were completely entitled to your opinion. And you are completely allowed to have that opinion, and there's nothing that I can say or do that can change that opinion. That is yours, and that is yours to have, and that is your right to have that, and I can't fault you for it. There are games that there are games and there are movies that I love that other people completely fucking hate and they would never watch ever. And that's okay. People have their opinion. That's what makes us people. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique, is that we enjoy different things, that we like different things. And it's not a bad thing to be different. I think, to me personally, this game is a 9.5 out of 10. To other people, it might be an 8 out of 10. To other people, it might be a 10 out of 10. To other people, it might be a 1 out of 10. All I say is, make sure the reason you don't like something be a good reason about it. Don't say that you don't like something just because it's popular to say you don't like it. Because you could be cutting yourself off from enjoying something that you might really, really like. Don't say that you don't like something because it represents a different lifestyle than yours. That just makes you an asshole. Yeah, no, I love Blade Runner. Hey, you know what? I think we agree on something. I think we've had this discussion before, Gert. But I think Blade Runner 2049 is a better movie than Blade Runner 1. I am more than happy to have that conversation with somebody on the internet. I will give my opinion in a very well documented and cited like essay on why I think Blade Runner 2049 is a better movie than the original Blade Runner. And there's multiple reasons why. But you know what? Some people like the original Blade Runner over Blade Runner 2049. And you are completely allowed to have that opinion. Fuck yeah, have that opinion. You're different than me. Awesome. It is one of the best movies ever. It is a fantastic film. So, let's talk a little bit more about Last of Us 2, about moths. The symbology of moths. Moths represent death. They're also attracted to the moon. Neil Druckmann said in an interview that the moth didn't originally mean anything, and then as the game was being written and developed and acting, the moth became a sort of symbol for the game itself. And then it kind of, like, the game itself takes on the qualities of a moth. I think that's very cool, because that's something that I noticed right off the bat, just because of somebody that, like, notices different things about just imagery, just, like, as a writer. The game is, Neil Druckmann was said that the game was originally about, the first game was originally about love, and this game was about hate. He's gone on to refute that statement and say that that has changed, that both games themselves are about love, but they're about different kind of love, and about the things that love makes people do. Love makes people do terrible things. There's some of the worst atrocities committed by man were done in the name of love. And this game is no stranger to that. I completely agree with the ending notion that they ended it with Ellie letting Abby go. I think that they were able to accurately connect forgiveness and the true taking the first step to getting over your PTSD and getting over anxiety and getting over grief is to let go. It like the first step toward treating that. The first step toward grief and everything like that is being angry and going into denial and everything like that. There's whole other steps before that. But to know that when you're fully on the way to, like, treatment, it is letting go, it is forgiveness, it is moving on. And they represented that beautifully. I'd say I can't wait to see the next game that Naughty Dog comes out with. I hope it's not another Last of Us game. I hope they're done with Last of Us. I think that is a perfect note to leave that game on. I hope their next game is something amazing and astounding and makes me think, and it challenges me, because this game certainly challenged me. I like things that challenge me. I like things that make me think. If I didn't like things that didn't challenge me, then you would see me streaming Animal Crossing. And that's not to say that Animal Crossing isn't challenging to somebody, but it's not the kind of thing that I enjoy. And I can't wait to see what they do. If they do go explore the Last of Us universe again and they make another game, I hope it has nothing to do with Joel or Ellie or Abby. I hope it is a completely different story. Or they make a comic book series about Abby and Lev joining up with the Fireflies. I think a comic book series would be great. It worked really well with The American Dreams. I like the idea of using the comic book medium to continue stories, because it is a relatively cheaper option to continue a story, and it's not as exhaustive, and it allows your team to focus on other things while you get to expand yourself creatively. Let's see. I think you should go out and play this game if you haven't yet. I don't know why you're watching this if you haven't played this game or watched it, but I think everybody should experience playing it and watching it. I think it is an astounding game, and I think that it needs to be played, especially if it's your bag. If it's not your bag, then avoid it. I'm not going to tell you to fucking go out and play it if you don't want to play it. You are your own human being. You're able to make your own fucking decisions. So, to talk about a little bit more things before we wrap up here in about 15 minutes, I want to talk about the future of Carry and Comfort Studios. Currently, I am working on developing a tabletop RPG system that is a post-apocalyptic tabletop RPG system that is framed with the framework of your character going home. One of the things, to call it post-apocalyptic would be a lie. It's post-apocalyptic. The narrative framework is that your character survived a apocalypse, world-ending event, and you survived within a community, and now the world is rebuilding, the world has healed, things are starting to grow back. Oh, good. I really need coffee. Sorry, guys. But you're starting to grow, everything's starting to grow back, so your character is trying to go back home. You've left home, and now you're trying to go back home and start a life of your own. And it's about the trials and the tribulations of traveling from this place that you've been so comfortable with these people that you've been so comfortable with, and going back and dealing with surviving and living off the land until you make it back home. It is going to be using the the basic role-playing system. It's the same role-playing system that Call of Cthulhu uses, as well as Delta Green and RuneQuest. I think it was important to use that when somebody made the suggestion, and it was like a really cool suggestion. Somebody in the Gehenna Gaming Discord, because it is a very skill-based thing. So I cannot wait to do a little bit more writing and development and get that play tested. As well as that, I'm writing. I'm constantly writing. I'm constantly coming up with new content. I'm working on a couple of new content stuff for Gehenna Gaming, so be keeping your eyes peeled for that in the future. It's going to be a really fun time. There's at least 3 different projects that I'm working on with them. 2 are in the chamber ready to go, and we're about to start another one. So it's going to be a rad time, and you'll be seeing a lot on my channel about it, and like me reposting it and everything like that. That being said, I have a YouTube. The YouTube, you just look up Carrying Comfort Studios and you find it, and it has the entire, except for the last 6 hours. I'm adding that tomorrow. The last 6 hours of the Last of Us gameplay. I'm going to take this retrospective and review, and put that on the old YouTube for people to watch. You can also catch the Dark Depths episodes that I did on John Carpenter, as well as Shirley Jackson and Junji Ito as well on there. I hope you take the time to go subscribe and check that out. That being said, with the YouTube and me building a PC, I'm going to have readily available better editing software, and I'm going to be able to try my hand at editing software. So I think what I want to do is I want to grow. I'm always wanting to constantly grow and change, and what I want for this is I want to continue doing the Twitch stream, but I think I want this to be a place for me to do video game playthroughs as well as run tabletop RPGs. I want to run actual plays on here. So I think I'm going to start using this stream as a place to play through like horror games or story narrative like focused like games. I want to take it, and then I want to do a full playthrough of it, just run through it, do it like a normal Twitch stream like I used to do when I was Fred Pirate Roberts, and just play a video game all the way through. And then at the end of it, I want to do a video like this talking about what I thought about it and what I thought could have been better, what I think was perfect about it, and give it a score. And then also do an actual play live stream game, either weekly or bi-weekly on here. I think that's the natural progression for that. And I want to use the YouTube as a place for me to talk about things that I want to analyze, that I want to talk about and rant about. Also do interviews, and I want to do I want to move Dark Depths to YouTube, so that I can have those Dark Depths, like those deep dive analysis on things, so I can have a more proper hand in editing them, and then putting out a better finished product on the YouTube. And so that I'll have clean cuts, and I can use multimedia projections, as opposed to here on the Twitch stream where everything's like very much my face focused, or I have to bring up pictures. I want to be able to have that kind of creative freedom. God, I'm sorry. God almighty. So, I'll be talking more about that change in the coming months. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take a little bit of time to make that transition happen. But I'm looking forward to it. A little bit about the future. Tonight is the last stream until until Saturday the 25th of July. The next 2 weeks, I am going to be off the grid. I am going to be not on stream. I'm not going to be on the internet a lot. I'm going to be on a personal private trip for me to kind of recenter and refocus. There's been a lot going on. And while I'm going on this trip, I'll talk about it a little bit later as well here in a little bit. But, a lot has been affecting me in my work life and in my personal life, and a lot has been happening in society, as you know, greater society as I know, and I need to take a break to recharge my batteries, and I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be taking that. I'm not going to be working at work. I'm taking paid vacation. Yeah. I'm taking my paid vacation that I'm allotted because I have the privilege to be working at a place where I have paid vacation. And I am going to be taking personal time to work on other projects, to work on my writing, to work on bettering myself as a human, to work on getting myself healthier in my mental space and my physical headspace. I suggest that if you're able to do that, you do that as well. It is truly a blessing to be able to do that. I thank Satan every day. And if you don't know, I'm a known Satanist, but I thank Satan every day for providing me with the ability to provide for myself and to hunt after things for myself. I also recently got a promotion, and I recently got a pay raise at work. So I'm going to be using that money to upgrade the stream, and I'm going to be upgrading my quality of life as well. So we're going to be seeing a huge quality of life update for the stream as well as for my own personal life. That being said, wear a fucking mask. COVID-19 is a real thing. It's not a fucking hoax. We have over 1 million cases here in the United States alone. We are in the second wave right now because our country is led by a bunch of fucking idiots on all sides, both sides. Everybody's a fucking idiot. You know what? I don't go outside either. I barely go outside. But if I do, I wear a fucking mask. But if I don't go outside, then you don't have to wear a fucking mask. You know what? Not going outside, guess what? That's even smarter. What you're doing is you're self-isolating. You're quarantining. There you go. You fucking did it. Everything you need is on the internet. You can have everything delivered to you. Take the time. Let's fucking work together and beat this shit. There you go. Yeah, I'm fucking proud of you. Next thing. Black Lives Matter. If you have a problem with that statement, then get the fuck off of my stream. I don't want you to be a part of my community. I don't want you to come at me and say all lives matter. I don't want you to say any of that bullshit Black Lives Matter. I've donated. I've been donating to certain groups. I suggest you do the same. With this pay raise, I'm going to be donating as well to the Equal Justice Initiative. They're doing great work, and I really support them, as well as the NAACP, as well as the Black Lives Matter movement themselves. Also, look at bail funds for protesters in your community. Getting arrested is expensive, and apparently if you protest, that means you get arrested. There's a problem with this whole country's judicial system. From the very bottom of it, which means cops, because they are the very bottom of it. Cops are bottom feeders. All cops are bastards. I'll say it so many times. You can take this video down from the internet. I don't give a shit. The criminal justice system is destroying American lives. It is putting people in prison that do not need to be in prison. Our government is making money off of people illegally and unethically. It's wrong. All of it's wrong, and we need to reform. I can't do much for it because I'm not a politician. I'm not a lawmaker. I don't get to make those votes, but I do get to vote on who does make those votes. So that's a really important thing to pay attention to. That's one of the many things you can do. People that are telling you that the only way you can make change is by voting, they're just trying to keep you pigeonholed into one route. There is multiple ways you can make change. Our country was founded by racist founders that revolted against a tyrannical ruler. We need to do the same. We need to completely overhaul the system so that it benefits the American people and it does not benefit the people that are in charge. That's all I have to say on that. If you want to talk about it more, then we can talk about it. Not on here on stream or on YouTube. I just think it's clear to make, I think it's just best to make it clear how I stand and where I stand. And if you don't like it, you can get the fuck out. There's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. That being said, I love everybody. I don't love you in the way that like a spouse loves a spouse. I have an appreciation for you. I have a deep fondness for you for taking the time to follow my streams. I know that got a bit heavy at the end. There will be more fun to be had about playing horror games and watching horror movies and discussing tabletop RPGs and playing tabletop RPGs. I can't wait for that day to come. I can't wait for a day where that's the only thing I have to focus on. Thank you to everybody who follows. And if you're not following now, I beg of you, please do follow, because for every follower that I have, that means that I get more recognition. For every view that we have, I get more recognition. Thank you to all 12 subscribers of the stream. Thank you for subscribing to my stream. It's because of you. You're helping me make this stream better, and you're helping me have the funds to be able to update the stream. And I appreciate you using your Twitch Prime subscription or your hard-earned cash, either one, to give to me. I feel I don't deserve it, but thank you so much. If you do subscribe, depending on the level that you subscribe, you get one of these three emotes. The blessing one is the one that's my favorite. You get to use that at the base with Twitch Prime or the $5 subscription. If we get more subscribers, if we get more followers, and the more subscribers I get, the more emotes we get to use. And I have a whole shit ton of emotes that I paid somebody to make. Neva Valo. You can follow her online at Neva Valo on Twitter. I want to say thank you to Gehenna Gaming. I want to thank you to A Little Gert Don't Hurt. I want to say thank you to Bama Jam for following. I want to say thank you to Turtleman357 for being a great mod, for always being here. I want to say thank you to your big dad for always reminding me to stay hydrated. I want to thank you to each and every one of the people that were in the chat watching along as I played The Last of Us Part 2. It was a fantastic fucking time, and I can't wait to play another game like that. Ghost of Tsushima is coming out later. I am not going to be streaming Ghost of Tsushima, though. I'm going to be playing that one by myself. I want to take the time to play that by myself. I think the next game that I play will be a more horror-focused game. I've also been talking with a friend of mine, Klein, about they want to play Final Fantasy Remastered, and we just want to have like a nice like giggly drunk stream playing Final Fantasy VII Remastered. I think that would be fun. So if that's something that you'd like, please, please, please let me know. You know what? I cannot wait to watch along with you, Brian. Yeah, if you do stream it, I would love to watch Ghost of Tsushima, and I recommend everybody that's in the chat, if you're not already following Little Gert Don't Hurt, go ahead and make your way over there. Follow Little Gert Don't Hurt. Give the man some incentive to get back to streaming. Always entertaining streams. Was streaming Dreams for a little bit. I know that. Depression is one hell of a drug. That being said, don't pressure him into streaming if he doesn't want to stream. Mental health is important. He should take care of himself. I think that's it for me. I think that's everything that I need to say. Just some final notes. Last of Us Part 2, I think it's great. Last of Us Part 2, I think that if that's something that you're into, you should play it. Last of Us Part 2 is fucking not for everybody. If I had to give a grading, I'm not going to give a rating. A grading. Pass, fail. It's definitely pass. I give it an A-. It has some works that it had some tweaks that it had to do on how long it took for the length of the game. I think it was a tad too long. And I think there was some like AI stuff that should have been worked out. But other than that, I had a great time. And I cannot wait to beat it on New Game Plus mode, which I'm playing through right now. And, yeah, that's all I got to say on it. A-. I hope everybody has a great rest of your evening. I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope your fucking neighbors have stopped firing fireworks in your neighborhood, because I know mine haven't. And I hope you have a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal rest of your evening. My name is Brother Wes. This has been Carrying Comfort Studios. This has been our deep dive retrospective into The Last of Us Part 2. I hope you have a great, fantastic evening. And remember, comfort comes soon. Good night. I love you. Bye.